Hello.
Hello.
Good
Morning, how are we all?
Hi.
Great, thank you. How are you?
Stressed, tired, you name it. No, I've added stress onto myself now. I'm back at, well, I can't say back, but gone to university. But yeah.
Mm.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. I'm now doing a year's course of maths and English, but GCSEs, because I was a little rebel in school, which I think we all were.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Well, one of them. But anyway, right. None of us are on the spectrum, but we're going to be discussing how autistic individuals process the universe, world, whatever. So let's start with you, Rebecca. What do you think?
I think, yeah. I mean, in terms of Joshua, obviously because he's autistic, obviously I know that he sees the world differently than others. I think that he doesn't. I know he doesn't understand other people's emotions and feelings and points of view. Everything's about him, and I think that that's the way he sees the world. Really, that the world sort of revolves around him. It's like they have no empathy, really, but it's not that. It's just that it's the way that the autism affects the brain. Yeah, it's hard to say, really.
Yeah, because obviously we've all got different age groups when it comes to our kids. So what about you, since you've got the youngest here, Paul, with William?
Yeah, so William's 5. I mean, and autism obviously is a broad spectrum. The way William is, he's non-verbal at the moment, although he did used to speak a couple of years ago. He doesn't mask, which we were talking about just before we came live here, which puts him in a different category to some of the other children we'll be discussing, I suppose. So he's just out there with his autism, as it were. But because he's non-verbal, it's quite difficult in a way to say how he sees the world. I wouldn't want to overstep the mark and pretend that I know how he does see the world, but I can talk about what he's fascinated by, what he's passionate about, and what he doesn't like as well.
Yeah. See, with Lucas and Tegan, obviously Lucas 10, Tegan 9, they're practically like twins. Maybe because Lucas has got an 18-month delay, I don't know. But it's these obsessions, isn't it, they're going through? Like they're both going through a Pokemon obsession at the minute. Lucas keeps saying the word chicken for some reason, which I don't know why. Chicken to everything. Like, I took him swimming for the very first time on Saturday, and I actually underestimated him because I thought he was going to have a really bad meltdown because he's never been in the pool before. But he was jumping in and out, no armbands, then armbands. I'm like, okay. So it's one of them.
Wow.
Yeah, so he enjoyed it. He wants to go back. We were jumping in the deep end. He wanted to jump in the deep end, which is pretty high. Even I can't touch the floor with it, and I'm 6 foot tall. He wanted to jump in it without armbands. I'm like, okay, a bit too much here. So yeah, and even the lifeguards, they were interested in what he was doing. So yeah.
Oh. The obsessions thing, though, like with Joshua, he has, like, I call it a cycle, because he has fixations on certain things. Like at the minute it's dinosaurs, and after a few weeks, a few months, it'll be something else, and it's like the previous thing never existed. It's like he's very, and when he's fixated on that particular thing, it's all he'll talk about, it's all he'll watch, it's all he'll play with. It becomes everything to him. And then after a few weeks, like I said, it could be monster trucks, it could be animals, it could be football, it could be anything. And then that's the fixation again. Everything's about that thing. And he just goes round repeatedly.
Yeah.
A few weeks, months at a time.
William has similar obsessions. With being non-verbal, it's a little bit different, but he'll usually be obsessed with doing things. So he'll be really into, like for a while, he was really obsessed with jumping off the top of his slides, not sliding down the slide, but climbing to the top of it and jumping down to the bottom. And he would do that over and over again for 20 minutes maybe. And you mentioned none of us being on the spectrum, but I mean, I'm not diagnosed, and I don't know. I could be on the spectrum, because I certainly had lots of obsessions when I was sort of your son's age as a youngster. So never gone about getting the test, and got by okay-ish in life. So may not end up taking the test, but
no,
could be.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think the overwhelming of processing is around Christmas time, which obviously do I say it's around the corner? I don't know, but
not yet.
Something to build.
Oh, people are already on about putting the tree up already, but let's not go down that road. I think it's too early.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, do you feel like your kids in general get overstimulated and have a bit of a sensory overload around Christmas, Paul?
Me. So with William, he lives very much in the moment.
All right.
So I haven't seen much evidence of, if something's happening the next day, him becoming anxious about it. So I think this year probably he'll be okay in the lead up to Christmas. Right. Won't be fussed about the tree going up, things like that. Won't associate that with busyness and people being round and things like that. And I would have, until very recently, I would have said that he wouldn't be too bothered about the people being round either. But recently we've seen some evidence that he does get a bit overstimulated in those sorts of settings. So specifically, and I did a TikTok video about this, during the Queen's funeral, William ended up needing a walk. So we went on a walk, and a road we walked down is usually like a super busy road, like loads of cars going past the big main road. And William's usually really, really excited, like looking at all the cars going past. Like he really works himself up. And then on this occasion, because it was the Queen's funeral, nobody out at all. This road was completely dead. And he was just so calm, so happy. And there's a real sense of peace about how he was. So saw some really clear evidence there that he does benefit from quietness, and maybe this excitement that he feels at other times, it could be a form of anxiety. And I've had autistic people say that they feel like that as well. Excitement, anxiety are quite similar things for them. So around Christmas, maybe he will.
Yeah, I think
maybe he'll get overexcited.
I think our daughter's the same, because she likes her own personal space. Like, she likes socializing, no problem, even though she's got social communication difficulties. She likes socializing, but it has to be on her terms. And like when we went shopping on Saturday, she was fine for like the first half an hour or an hour or so. But then when we went into a certain shop, she had a bit of an anxiety attack where she didn't fall to the floor or anything like that, but she's started whinging, saying, I want to be on my own. So it's like she got a bit triggered, a bit overstimulated, because Rebecca, you know what Blackburn Mel's like on Saturday afternoon. It's not good. There's a lot of people.
Busy. It is busy, yeah. It's very busy, and it can be a lot overwhelming for
children. And obviously it'll get even worse when like Christmas lights go up.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
What about you?
On Christmas time, I think Joshua enjoys Christmas, but I think he sort of like he anticipates it, obviously, that it's coming up, and he knows that it's coming up. But the thing is with him, once he gets something in his head, he'll just keep going on about it all the time. So if we said to him, you know, like, oh, it's Christmas next week, and then every day be like, oh, is it Christmas tomorrow? Is it Christmas tomorrow? You know, so we've got to sort of like, we've got to prepare him for things that are happening, but we don't like to tell him too far in advance and get him worked up, because he'll just keep thinking that Christmas is next week or whatever. He won't understand that it's a few weeks away or a few months away.
Maybe it's a suggestion, have like a visual thing, because that's what we do. Like we put on the board like so many days until Christmas, and then every day we count it down.
Yeah.
But there has been time where it has been Christmas Day, and Kerry had to wake Lucas up and make him realise what day it is, because he totally forgot. But maybe that was to do with because that year he didn't help us decorate. And that's probably why he got sensory overload, because we're too much for him. So this is why we get the kids involved with things like this.
Definitely. Yeah.
What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, well, I think William would forget that it's Christmas. I think he would happily come downstairs and do his usual things. He'd go on the trampoline, even though it's probably sub-zero temperatures. You know, climb on the furniture. Yeah, and you know, usually last Christmas, thinking back to that, we had to sort of like very strongly encourage him to open his presents, because he just, you know, he'll end up liking what's inside them, but he just wasn't bothered about this thing that was wrapped up, opening it up. Like I say, he lives in the moment very much, and he's got his own interests, his own things, sensory things he likes to do.
Yeah, well, with our kids, they like to know what they've got before the day, which is very weird. But there has been a couple of years where we've got them something they've asked for, but then when they've opened it, they didn't want it. Like, what?
Yeah, so, I mean, Christmas is difficult for me, because we have to think, what's he going to be interested in at the time, because he switches so often. And because obviously at the minute he's fixated on dinosaurs and everything's dinosaurs, but by Christmas it could be something else. And if we get him dinosaurs, he just won't be interested. It'll just be like they never existed, because he's on the next thing. So I always try and leave it a bit late, you know, for what he's interested in, because he switches, and it can just be overnight. It's been overnight sometimes that he's just straight away got something else out, and I'm thinking, right, he's on this now, because it's not dinosaurs. It's monster trucks or football or animals or whatever. Wrestling was a few months ago. We had wrestling, and he's got because he likes to collect everything to do with it. Like, he's got loads of dinosaurs, so we had all these wrestling figures, like loads and loads of these wrestling figures, and he was watching wrestling on the TV, and he wanted, you know, all these toys to do with wrestling, and then he just switched overnight and went back to dinosaurs. So all them
goes back and forth between the interests sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and he watches the same repetitive things. He watches YouTube a lot on TV.
Yeah, William too.
Yeah, and he wants to watch the same things repetitively over and over again. He watches this YouTuber called Gaming Beaver. And he's a dinosaur enthusiast. He loves watching him. These videos. So yeah.
See, we're struggling with Lucas at the minute, because obviously he's on this online app on the laptop called Scratch, where he does a lot. He practically makes his own games on it, which is brilliant. But then at the same time, he's solving a Rubik's Cube. Then he's reading a book. Then he's watching YouTube. Then he's playing Super Mario. I'm like, he's giving himself a sensory overload.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then when we try and restrict that and take like calm him down, no, we get the wrath of it.
Yeah, you take something away and that's it, and that you can't. It's like it's hard to find that balance because you think that's helping them regulate, and you're thinking, yeah, but like say it's late, it's getting late at night, it's getting time for bed or whatever. You need to do something, and then you think, but that's helping them regulate. So what do? Do I take it away or do I leave it?
That's a difficult one.
Yeah, because it's helping them.
Yeah, see, obviously with Lucas, he wakes up between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m. and straight away he goes straight to his whiteboard and he's doing maths. He's doing like trigonometry and calculus and Pythagoras and all that at that time, and then he's doing it throughout the day in school. Even though he receives one-to-one high, like college level maths, but then when he's coming home, he's playing Super Mario. But then when it's after bedtime routine, when he's supposed to chill out, he's doing it again.
Yeah,
I'm like, calm down.
Yeah, and that's probably helping him regulate. That's it
is, but yeah. See, Kevin, are you tuned in? No. But yeah, it's hard. So, Paul, have you ever witnessed William having like an overwhelming like this, like with an obsession?
Oh, with obsessions. Yeah, I mean he loves movement. His obsessions are kind of sensory at the moment.
Okay.
So he loves movement. So the jumping off the slide I mentioned. Like when we're on the street, he loves watching the wheels of cars. Seems to be the wheels because they're spinning and moving at the same time. So that's quite exciting for him. And I think he sort of gets towards being overloaded in those environments, certainly. So on a walk the other day, we went to a motorway bridge, so we could see all the cars zooming past underneath, and he wasn't. He didn't have a meltdown, but I could tell he just was finding it very difficult to calm down afterwards. Sort of very jittery. So it's clear there'd been some sort of overstimulation. And this is something I'm, not having, well, at least William's sort of autism is I'm learning about his overload in that, and how it doesn't necessarily have to be a meltdown. It can just be this jitteriness, this anxiety that builds up. He does have meltdowns, and sometimes he has them in busy places, but it's not a consistent pattern, which is strange. Which is why it's a bit of a mystery, really. Sometimes we'll go to a busy place and he'll love it, a bit like the swimming pool with your son that you talked about. We'll go to Merry Hill, which is a big shopping centre near us, and he usually loves going there and has a good time. But other times, maybe like with the family, maybe when we're all together in a small room, it might get a bit much for him, and he started putting his fingers in his ears sometimes. Started getting very upset in environments like this, but still learning, because, like I say, with him being non-verbal, he's very complex, despite being despite not expressing it in words. So learning all the time. Yeah.
See, obviously, in the year we went to both Blackpool and Southport Airshaw, and obviously, like, I'll get to meltdowns soon because I feel like we need to do a podcast on this. I really do. But obviously, we went to both Airshaws, and Southport, Lucas was absolutely fine. It was brilliant. But with Blackpool, he got triggered. So it's like, I understand there was a lot of people there with both, but with Southport, there were less people because we were right at the front, because you get to pay to get right at the front, and that's what we did. But with Blackpool, it's free. So we was like all packed together, even though we was getting bitten, like eaten alive by these flying ants. So yeah, It's one of them, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's,
it is.
Was he able to?
Touch and go.
Was
It
he able
is.
to say what?
What's that?
What the
Sorry.
was he able to say what the difference was between?
He didn't know, but what I think didn't help was the fact that on the Blackpool Airshow Day, we was mixing with football fans as well, because I said we drove down, but we were mixing because Blackpool was at home that day. So it's like normally when it's Blackpool Airshow Day, Blackpool's not playing at home, they're away or something like that. But we were mixing, so it's even more people piling in.
Yeah, and if I remember rightly, the weather was hot, wasn't it?
It was hot. It was. Did you go?
No, I didn't. No. But I do remember the weather was really hot, and everyone were just piling into Blackpool, weren't they, around that time? But I know what you mean about the differences, like, because with Joshua, it's the same. Like, sometimes you could take him somewhere and he's absolutely fine, and then other times he's not. And I think it's just a sensory thing, like a trigger, isn't it? And obviously we don't always know what it is, but we can always try and anticipate it before it happens.
Yeah, and obviously that's what I've just said. For what Kerry's just put, mixture of both hot weather and a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
and it probably with the travel as well, because normally we can get there straight away. We've only stopped a couple of times, but we kept stopping because of the traffic. So it's... but he didn't have the meltdown on the travels. It was more Tegan did. She had the meltdown.
Yeah.
So we just literally we abandoned the air show. We just took them into the arcades. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
Which we wasn't bothered about.
No, sometimes you've just got to change it, haven't you? Just I mean, journeys in particular. I mean, Joshua doesn't like long car journeys. So if I'm driving somewhere and we've got a long time, he gets really, really agitated. He doesn't do well in the car, long journeys. He gets really upset, frustrated after a while. Train, he enjoys the train. He does enjoy the train. He likes seeing which stop's going to be next, and they say, "Oh, we'll touch a place now," and then he likes that. So if we go, like, we have to go to Leeds sometimes for appointments for him at hospital, we always go on the train. But I'm not going to drive because we'll just have a severe meltdown. And I've had him literally screaming in the car, and headbutting the seat, you know, and going absolutely crazy, and I'm trying to drive. So it's not good.
Well, when it comes to the train and buses as well, I think they've done absolutely brilliant with it, because they used to just say, right, stop here, and it's visual, but now they've actually made it audio on both buses and trains.
Yeah.
Which I think is brilliant for like people with autism.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, the schedule.
Yeah, exactly. And Lucas and Tegan like keeping track of stations on train journeys. They do.
Yeah. It was like
that.
William loves the train too, but just the movement, trains. Really. Yeah, it does seem to be a thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. So what's William like on like journeys, whether the short journeys or even long journeys?
He's pretty calm, actually. We're quite fortunate. The car's one of his safe spaces, I think. So he likes with him like in movement. There's a lot of movement going on. So a lot of the time when I've watched him in the car, he's just spends all his time just looking out of the window, watching things go past. He likes trees. So he likes watching the trees go past. He loves music as well. So we usually have music on that he likes. So he enjoys it really. When we go to my parents', which is sort of 2.5-3 hour drive, towards the end, sometimes he gets a bit bored of being in the car. But I guess who wouldn't? You know, I'm feeling the same. But by that time, but I think we're quite fortunate, and he loves the train as well. So anytime we do that.
Yeah. So what's the difference between him being in the car and then on like public transport?
Well, the car is a bit easier for us, so we would always choose that if if we're just going on practicality, because he has his seat that he's secured into, and he doesn't mind that. The train, not so easy to have a secure spot, so he'll be sort of getting excited, jumping up on the seat, things like that, which is fine. But maybe over a long period, if we're going for a long journey, that might lead to the overstimulation we talked about, and not being able to settle again. I have a TikTok video about him going into the centre of Birmingham on the train, and he did really enjoy it. But when we got there, he needed some time to calm down. You know, we found a quiet bookshop, and took his shoes off as well, which is calming for him.
Yeah, see, I want to talk about sensory when it comes to that, because both Lucas and Tegan have been practically bullied because they don't wear socks. Because obviously, like, we're constantly being pulled by teachers saying, "Do you know that they've not had socks on this day and that these many days?" I'm like, "Yeah, because they've got sensory issues."
Yeah.
But they seem to have a problem with that. So it's like, how do we get around that?
Yeah, can relate to that. Yeah.
I mean that's wrong, isn't it? Really, because if they have sensory issues, they have sensory issues. I mean, Joshua does, and he has to wear. He wears a shirt for school with a collar and one of them string ties. He hates it, but he wears it. But he won't have his top button fastened. He goes, you know, he hates it. So why force him to do it? And at socks, I have to send him with a spare pair of socks to school, because I always find socks all over, because when they get a tiny bit wet, he has to take it off. He has to take the socks off, even if it's just a tiny bit, you know.
Sensory issues right there.
Yeah. So I'm always having to find socks for him, because he will take them off and then he'll want another pair of socks. So but, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. With William, so one of his big sensory comforts is having a dummy, and so if he particularly if he gets overwhelmed, he likes to have his dummy, and that's a bit of an issue at the moment, because his school seems to be against that, him having that, and so it means, and I feel like a bad parent because I haven't enforced this more.
If you want to swear, you can swear. That's not a problem.
But when we get to school, basically that's when dummy time finishes. And I have given them a dummy before and said, you know, if he gets upset, this is a good thing it'll calm him down for a few minutes. But I think this possibly outdated thinking about age appropriateness and autism is dominating with them, and you know, wanting him to be more age appropriate by not having a dummy at any point. Whereas in my view, I think that if it calms him down for those few minutes and gets him through a situation, rather than, you know, biting and scratching and all these other things that he does, which he never does at home.
Absolutely.
Surely.
Absolutely. And as James puts, the reasonable adjustment, which obviously all schools, it doesn't matter which type of school it is, the duty bound to make reasonable adjustments. And if they don't like it, then that's discrimination right there.
It is.
Yeah. And like I say, I need to have more clear communication with them about that, because I just feel bad every day sending him in and knowing he's not going to have that comfort.
Well, that's same with Tegan as well, because obviously she's been diagnosed and stuff like that, but the support she's getting is embarrassing. And I've actually said, we've said this many times to the school, it's embarrassing what you're providing. Like, she's got visual things on the table, which could help, but it's not enough. Yeah. So, like, just the other day, we had serious concerns. So I literally went into school, raised all these concerns, nothing was done. So then I thought, right, Tegan was practically going to school because she didn't want to go in. She wanted to come home. So she went in, obviously monitored and stuff like that, because her mental health was like that. So I went round the front and I was like, right, I'm done with this. I want something done. So obviously the head teacher took me in, pupil welfare officer took me in, and I literally had a go at the head teacher. I'm like, don't stand there talking to me as a head teacher, talk to me as a parent and tell me what's what. And she kept telling me to calm down. I'm like, no, I don't want to calm down. And then she's like, right, tell me what you want and we'll do it. So that's what we did. This is what it has to take.
That's what you've got to do sometimes. And you shouldn't have to.
No.
You shouldn't have to do it. It shouldn't have to come to that.
No.
But it does sometimes. You just lose it. You know, I mean that was obviously, as you know, it took us so long to get Joshua diagnosed.
Yes.
And it was just ridiculous. We were just like, say, you know, you're not listening to us. We've got all this evidence. We've got all this, what we're telling you, what he's like and stuff like that. And they just weren't listening. And you find it hard not to get angry. You know, you don't want to get angry. You don't want to get upset and things, but you just find it hard not to because it's your child.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's your child.
Yeah, well, we're literally going to monitor her until probably the October half term, and then if nothing's improved, then we're probably contemplating pulling her.
What, to a new school or just?
No, just pulling Tegan out. Let Lucas carry on, but Tegan, not pulling her and have her home educated.
Home education, you mean?
Yeah, because I know a lot of parents with autistic children, they're actually home educating them.
Yeah.
Because they're just not that understanding with the system.
Yeah. I mean, with Joshua, we wouldn't be able to do that because he's so much, he won't do homework. He won't do anything to do with school at home. It's school's school and home's home.
Yeah.
So during lockdown, when there was obviously having to do work at home and doing Zoom sessions and things,
non-existent.
He'd watch it on Zoom, and then his teacher would say, "Oh right, okay, now go to question whatever in your book and do this." He wouldn't do it. We've had meltdowns about doing homework. He went to homework club last year because he weren't doing his homework at home. Tried it a few weeks. He was coming home and having the most horrendous meltdowns I've ever seen. One day he went in the kitchen and started throwing things around the kitchen, near enough smashing things. He was horrendous. And I said to his teacher, you know, it's not working. I know homework's important, but it just isn't working. And he won't do anything at home to do with school. Once he's home, that's it. He's home. So they take him in at lunchtime a couple of times a week to do his homework. Obviously not missing out on full lunchtime, but just doing bits at school because he just won't do anything at home to do with school.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, Paul?
No, just that's interesting. How there's that such a clear divide in his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously with Tegan, obviously she likes her time, and we brought this to the school's attention. I'm like, right, okay, what would you like us to do? Because it seems she's more triggered when it comes to like dinner time. So what she does is she plays out for a little bit, then she goes in for a dinner, but then when everyone else comes out, she stays in and she has her time, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Like, obviously, we call it sensory time.
Yeah, it's like self-regulating. That,
yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and she seems to be happy after that, but it's what to do after that, because like she comes home and she wants to do it again. Like I know she's only restricted in school to have it only 20 minutes, but 20 minutes is better than nothing.
It is. Yeah.
What, she wants to delay her?
No, she just wants to have just her time, just her and nobody else around her.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, which I don't know how to see that, to be honest. Like even like when I go upstairs to do something, it's like she can hear people walking upstairs, and she's like, "I'm in self-care," but then when it comes to checking on her, it's like she's done something she's not supposed to. So it's touch and go, and we're actually more struggling with Tegan than we are with Lucas. Right. All down to the masking.
Yeah.
When I was sort of 5 or 6 in the early years of school, I used to be like the slowest eater in my whole school, and I used to sit with my friends to have while they had their lunch, and for some reason didn't eat mine, and waited until they'd all finished and gone, and then I'd be on my own in the canteen eating my lunch. So maybe that was a sign of something.
Yeah. It's clearly social anxiety, isn't it?
It is. It is. And Joshua's teaching assistant at the minute, she's taking him out for sensory breaks. Right. But they've had to take him out of class a couple of times because he's getting overwhelmed now quite easily. And she explained that he's getting sensory breaks, and she's also done him a sensory box with different things inside it, like Play-Doh and bits of things that
that's what Tegan's got.
Yeah, and then
all the fidget stuff.
Yeah, and she took him out collecting leaves last week, the week before, as a sensory sort of exercise with him. So I think that's helping him.
Yeah. See, obviously, when Lucas was in this mainstream school, they kept saying he's not allowed to bring his cap in or any like fidget stuff in it. So we're like, right, okay, we'll go along with this. Little did we know about all this discrimination and diverse. We didn't. But now we do. I basically sent an email to the teacher, I'm like, right, this day, Tegan's bringing something in. So like every single day now, she's taking a teddy in for his comfort. But what we've done is we've paid a little bit extra and got Tegan one of these teddies where if you stick it in the microwave for 30 seconds, it warms it up.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's one of them kind of sensory teddies, and she won't let it go.
Oh,
that's nice. She's allowed to.
Yeah. I think it's just whatever helps them. You know, it should be widespread, shouldn't it? It should be every school, whether it's an SEN school or a mainstream school.
Agree.
You know, if a child has additional needs and they need them adjustments, then it shouldn't be called into question, really.
It's not doing anyone any harm, is it?
No, not at all.
Them having a teddy or
Joshua has a blanket, a muslin blanket that he's had for years, and it has a label on the end of it, and he sort of wafts it under his nose, sort of like a sensory. And when he's going to sleep at night, he wafts it and he falls asleep doing that. Calms him down as well. You know, it's for him, like if he gets upset, he wants his blanket. And it's like, well, yeah, he's 8, but he's got a blanket, but so what? You know, it helps him. And I have to take it out when I go anywhere, I take it out with me in case he has a meltdown and he's upset or anything.
What I would invest though is we've got it for Lucas and Tegan. I think they're like £12 each or something like that. We've got weighted blankets for them both.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, we've got one of those.
Yeah, they're really good. They've got weight to them. Yeah, I've got weight to them. I know. I want one. they are comfy though.
Are they like for bedtime?
Yeah. Well, for any time, to be honest.
Right.
Anytime.
Yeah.
William never really took to his. Sorry.
No, go on.
William never really took to his, actually. I don't know if he found it a bit restrictive. But, I mean, some things we buy for him and think it's going to be the greatest thing ever, and it doesn't end up using them at all.
No,
it's hard to predict.
Kids like them. They do wrap themselves at night, and it'll be good for around these cold nights as well.
Yeah.
So I may just invest in getting myself one.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, come on, James. Don't get me started on the EHCPs.
Oh gosh.
I know. That'll be another podcast.
We've got a meeting on Thursday for that at school. So
obviously with Lucas, he's been at school nearly a month now, and we've not heard anything about his review or something like that. Nothing. So I need to chase them up. But yeah, it's what to do about processing, like getting people to understand, because these stereotype people just keep coming out with these comments. when individuals have sensory overloads. Yeah,
yeah, they do. It's I think some people, yeah, okay. I don't expect everybody to know about autism, obviously, because they don't, and I'm still learning, and everybody is. But I think that the ignorance just plays a big part in it for a lot of people. You know, they just think, oh, you're the sort of too judgmental sort of thing. Like, I remember when Kerry said that time when she was in town and somebody said something to her, like, oh, your child's being, whatever it was. And it's like, I think people just need to be more educated and more sort of, I don't know, just accepting of people and not judging, you know.
Yeah, that's judgmental.
Yeah, well, it takes back to, obviously, without being age discriminating here, but it's the older generation that just does not understand. Like with Southport Earnshaw, obviously we let kids play in the sand and stuff like that. And we was in this disabled area, and these old people were basically saying, these shouldn't be here. This is a disabled spot. Obviously, we were more focused on the kids, but if it was just we had one child or whatever, we would have turned around saying autism is a hidden disability. Yeah. Go and learn it.
It is a disability. It is.
It is.
And that's the thing, people, because they can't see it. They just think, oh, they're doing it.
They're just human, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly attitudes have changed, haven't they? And you know, my parents have been great with William. They're in their 70s and 80s, and they just let him have free reign of the house when he arrives, and that's brilliant for him because he just runs in and goes to whatever he wants, the clock or the rocking chair. That is his interests within their house.
Yeah,
they've really.
What did we make us laugh is we was in Hall Bargains on Saturday, and obviously at the end where we were just paying, like loading things to pay, there was this like deck chair, whatever, which you can chill out on. Obviously we didn't purchase it, but it was like just after the till, and we said to the kids, go and wait over there, because obviously they were getting in the way. Tegan sat on the floor, obviously in the strop and stuff like that. But Lucas, he was literally chilling out on this chair. I'm like, wow. So he made a few people chuckle, but that's what Lucas is. He's definitely comical, and he does bring humour to everything.
Yeah, Joshua's like that, very, very comical. He's like, when the Queen died, because he's so blunt as anything, he's just like, yeah, Queen's dead, put YouTube back on. It's like that. It doesn't.
Well, don't get me started. But anyway.
But one thing I was going to mention actually about processing is last year, somebody came into school to do a talk on the moon. This scientific thing, whatever it was, and there was on about astronauts when they went up into space and went on the moon. Anyway, the person was talking about apparently they're building this rocket or something that's going to go up into space and go to the moon, whatever it was. And his teacher said to me when I picked him up, she said, I've all afternoon, Rebecca has been going on about he thinks we're going to live on the moon. And I said, oh, okay. And she said, it's because this person's been in and they've been mentioning about going to the moon, but not us, but just these scientists or whoever they are. Okay, right. So she said, he wouldn't let it go. And he literally thought we was all leaving this earth and going to live on the moon. So she said, I've tried to reassure him as best I can. I've explained to him. Anyway, I said, no, don't worry, it's fine. Anyway, he came out of school straight away. Do you know we're going to live on the moon? And I'm really scared. And I was saying to him, no, we're not going to live on the moon. It's these astronauts that are going to go into space and they're going to the moon. And he eventually let it go, but it took him a long time to let it go. And I think it was just the way he processed it.
Yeah,
you know, even though they said it's the astronauts, these scientists, whatever, but it was his perception of it.
Just fixation on that idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Any last words?
No, I don't think so.
Paul?
No, I mean, I think we've covered like a lot of William's sensory likes and dislikes. Yeah, he's just, I guess, the quote I've used on my one of my TikTok videos is non-verbal doesn't mean non-complex. Yeah, a quote that I like because he's definitely a complicated character and he's got hidden depths. Despite not expressing it in the usual way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Right. Okay then. Thanks for all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
See you later.
See you. Bye.